Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to the second episode of Cleantech Talks at iVenture at ISV. Today, we have with us Mr. AB Chakravarthy, who is the India country head for Upaya Social Ventures. He is also a seasoned impact investment professional with over a decade of experience in technologies for the emerging market. In his previous roles at Agri Newgen Ventures, Mentora, and Willgrow, he has worked with many early stage enterprises in the fields of agri-tech, clean tech, fintech, and health tech. He also sits in the board of a lot of companies and was an advisor in shaping their strategies in few companies. So, once again, welcome, Mr. Chakravarthy. We are very happy to have you here for today's Clean Tech Talks episode.
Thanks, Shubham, for the introduction and for having me here. Thanks to the iVenture team. I look forward to the session. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. So now, to briefly introduce the session's topic, which is creation of dignified jobs at the intersection of clean energy. In this session, we will be discussing or we'll be exploring the dynamic landscape where clean energy solutions uh, intersect with the creation of meaningful and dignified employment opportunities. So, I would like to invite Mr. Chakra to start this session. And, we want to understand how these job creations can be a very important part when we think about getting a startup focusing on clean energy, clean solutions, or, the startups who are thinking of developing solutions in the clean tech space. So, Mr. Chakra, I would love to know more about Upaya Social Ventures vision, mission, and how you guys are, creating an impact in making jobs in this sector.
Yeah, great. Maybe I'll start with a short background of Upaya. So, Upaya has been in impact investing space for the last 12 years. We are an impact first investor. We do seed stage investments. We work with a mission of creating dignified jobs for the underserved community. So far we have invested in 34 enterprises and we have created 31,000 job as of last quarter in 2023. I think in terms of when we say creation of dignified job, it cuts across in different sectors naturally because most of the communities who are underserved or having a lot of leaning in agriculture, predominantly small and marginal farmers. So food and agriculture becomes one of our areas. The second biggest area is arts, crafts, more to do with sustainable fashion. Again, a lot of artisan community, which is the second largest employer in India. So we make a lot of interventions there. And apart from that, I think waste management, which is now called circular economy. A lot of informal rack pickers has been converted into formal sanitary workers by some of our enterprises that we have invested. So these are typical sectors that we pick in and choose entrepreneurs who are driving innovation in the space and put investment behind them and sort of grow the company. So that's in a nutshell about Upaya, what Upaya does. I think climate justice or climate action SDG 13 is also has a very close leaning to the areas where we have invested. So in our current active portfolio company, almost half of them are having product or services that will meet some form of climate action because naturally these are companies that are working with vulnerable communities and vulnerable geographies because in India these are in low aspiration in the aspirational districts or aspirational states cut across 13 states. So naturally the climate action takes shape and then in the sub part of it is the clean energy that comes from the climate action. So we'll speak more about it, but that's the way we are at least looking at the clean energy intervention in with relation to the jobs. Yeah.
So, Chakra, as you have spoken about the clean energy intervention Upaya is trying to create and the importance of job creation, which goes, uh, parallelly with both the missions. So, I just wanted to understand. So, when we talk about job creation, it is directly related to venture creation. So, what do you think? What is the significance of clean energy solutions in addressing environmental challenges? Because if it affects the environmental challenges, then it's a clean energy solution. And if that is happening, then the jobs are getting into that sector, and the startups are inclined towards walking towards that sector. So, what do you think? What is the significance of creating clean energy solutions?
I think great question. I'll take it more like a from a sectoral point of view, just to show the importance of it. Let's say if we take agriculture, most of Indian agriculture is still dependent on rainfed, right? You don't have good water pumping solution. Even if it is available, then it's maybe available through fossil fuel, or there is some level of grid connection, electricity driven, right? So it's not clean energy. Just to give you a context, government target is to get at least 6% of the pump running in solar. Now, take the eastern part of India where water table is very high, but still a farmer could not pump, water from the land to irrigate their crop. Now, imagine if there is a solar water pumping solution available to them. Not only it's a clean energy, but also helps them improves the productivity because they can pump water when it is available, and then they are not no more dependent on monsoon or the river irrigation system. So that's the delta that it can brings, and the additionality in terms of income that it can bring. So this is just one example on let's say the irrigation part. Let's move to a little bit downstream value chain. Let's say farmer grows the crop, he has a harvested produce. Now there is a perishability that comes out of it. Again, maybe because of climate and market vagaries. Now, if they want to quickly process something, can there be solar driven, dryers or small scale processing machines in which this can be converted into other forms? Let's say a tomato, any spices that you can think of, let's say chili being dried, converted into powders, rather than selling it right now in the open market. So again, there is an income increase, and then the food wastage being avoided. These are typical last mile challenges that are encountered, and how a clean energy solution can sort of help. So that's the way we sort of link both. Yeah.
Very true. This is something which is required for each and every startup to look in how they are creating their solution and how they can relate it with the environment impact. So as we are talking about creating dignified jobs, okay. So I wanted to understand what do you exactly mean by creating the dignified jobs in the clean tech space, and what do you mean by it?
Yeah, I think first I would like to sort of go by the definition of Upaya's definition of what when we say dignified job means. I think in India, 90% of the jobs are very informal in nature. It doesn't come with a lot of elements like how somebody gets a formal employment, right, which is social security and things like that. So we are trying to address that particular thing for the informal market, be it small marginal farmer or somebody who is working in a processing factory in agriculture, or these are artisan base, or somebody like I said, sanitary worker who's working in waste management space. We look at five different dimensions. So we look at what is the quantity and quality of income that they get. Is it predictable in nature? It's not like okay, I get an income for 2 3 months, and then there is a sudden window in which there is no income. So that's what we mean by quality of income. So that's one dimension. Second is, I think, okay, you get a good quality income, but where is this leading up to? Because most of the time, the job holders may end up paying, high debt or servicing debt that they may have taken for other thing. So what is that, where it is going? So it's more in terms of financial resilience of it. Are they making enough money to address the needs that they have? So that's number two. Third is, I think, social security in times of distress. Can they really sort of go and rely on this job? Let's say for an insurance, health benefit. Tomorrow, something is needed for their child education, things like that. How well they are well protected. And the other dimension we look at is, what is the dignity that it holds in terms of job? Because especially in waste management spaces, people, there's a critical question around it. So we look at how jobs are being perceived by the society when job holder takes this, right? So that's how companies are helping to improve that. Our companies have done that. So that's number four. And the fifth dimension is we look at what are the upskilling opportunities. So it's not like a monotonous, I'm going to do this for 10, 20 years, like how a professional, formal employment happens. In an informal job setting, also our companies are aiming for this. How can they be continuously upskilled so that whatever there are current innovation in the market, let's say the artisans are geared up for it. There are novel technologies that's coming in agriculture. The small and marginal farmers know the information and they are geared up for it. So upskilling opportunity is the fifth dimension. So these are the five dimensions through which we look at the dignified job component. So when we say clean energy interventions in any of the sectors that we are talking, we are looking at all this dimension and we are measuring it.
Definitely. When we are now talking about the clean solutions, so is it because the solutions were there, but we wanted to make it even better, so it create an impact in terms of environment, in terms of job creation, in terms of reliability, sustainability. So at the same time, I also believe this is the time we have to think, like, it's not just to create a simple, just a job. We have to think how we can make it a dignified job. So very well said from your end, like how Upaya is taking this seriously and trying to measure the facts which can be related to creating a dignified job. So very true and very important. So this is something I wanted to really understand what we mean by creating a dignified job, and I think we got the answer. This is something which is very important for start. Now, coming to the next question, I wanted to understand what do you mean, and what's your thought, like how this clean energy sector can create jobs, okay, opportunities in various fields. It can be manufacturing, installation, maintenance, research, development, a lot of other things. So what do you think this clean sector space is holding for creating jobs, again, the dignified jobs, and what are the opportunities ahead of us?
Yeah, I think I'll start with a little bit of macro scenario. As far as India is concerned, we are currently at 175 gigawatt of installed renewable energy capacity in 2023. Our aspiration, as per our, the Indian government estimate, is to grow it to 2.5 times more. So from 175 gigawatt to somewhere around 440 sort of gigawatt. Now, in terms of percentage, if you look at this 175 gigawatt is 25 percentage of the total energy generation capacity. So there also we need a jump, right? So from 25% probably to 50% by 2030. Now, what in 175 gigawatt to make the jump 2.5 times from here, let's say we want to add, let's say 50 to 75 gigawatt every year or up to 100 gigawatt every year. Now, what is very clear now is the 60 gigawatt out of 100 is pretty clear how we are going about it, because these are solar tech parks that runs in acres and acres, get it into the grid and generate energy, or your mobility solutions that are coming up, the whole EV infrastructure that people are talking about, or there are other forms of renewable energy like wind and things like that. So the 60 percentage context is well set. It's well set for the last 10-15 years. The space is evolving, so people know what they are financing, where they are investing, and what is the output they are going to get. So that is pretty clear. The other 40 percentage is where I think the what at least we call it as the distributed energy assets, because these are going to be decentralized in nature. These are not in one particular sort of place or thing, right? This will take various forms. So for us, there it is two major things within that 40%. One is your rooftop solar, which can go into rural households, get them electricity in a decentralized manner and things like that. The other 50% within that could be large scale productive use appliances across different sector, and that's what I think is in a very nascent stage, and that's what Upaya is trying to build sort of ecosystem for, along with other like-minded partner organization. So in that, maybe now I'll talk about what those parts are, because that comes with the intersectionality of job creation. Again, first I'll take with arts craft as a space. Um, in arts and crafts, lot of handlooms in India are again dependent on fully manual, or there are maybe electricity supply dependent on the grid. But can we make this solar power or clean energy powered? So that's one, which means that we are again improving the productivity of artisan, help adding additional jobs in those areas. So that's one. In waste management, a lot of time wet waste is collected and then it is dumped, or sometimes it is converted into biofertilizer. Now, can we look at creating bottled gas, or can we convert some of the agriculture waste into biogas, things like that? So that's another second form of clean energy which can be produced locally, consumed also locally, which means that it need not come from elsewhere, from an urban area to rural area for, let's say, cooking purposes. Agriculture is another classical example. I think I spoke about already irrigation and the processing, but there are cooling systems that can happen. Let's say any perishable product today that can be stored. Potato is a classical example. Now it is centrally stored everywhere, in places like Agra and things like that. If a small scale cold storage is available for a farmer, can this be stored at a village level or a taluk level? Those are another sort of intervention that one can look at. So depending on the sector and the spaces that people are in, these can take different forms, including Shubham, what you are referring to, which is apart from the productive use appliances, the jobs can also be created when there are a lot of solar trained micro entrepreneurs who can go and install this, servicing some of this, helping maintain all these things, right? So there are jobs that can come even from the distribution point of view of the productive use appliances. So this is the way, at least the scenario on the remaining 40 gigawatt. If you want to keep adding, this is the focus that need to be, and the larger emphasis. Yeah.
So, here comes the trick question. So, we talked about generating green energies. Okay. So, you said we are, the country is having a requirement of 100 gigahertz, where 60 gigahertz that we are already generating, and the remaining 40 gigahertz is something where we need to look for more solutions. What
Yeah.
uh, I wanted to tell you this thing, like when we see green energy creation, do we also see the fact that the if we can minimize the use of energy, the requirement of energy, let's say instead of getting a 3-star refrigerator, we can get a 5-star refrigerator. So do you think it goes along with the green energy creation thing, where we are looking for a solution which actually requires less energy, which actually can help us to minimize the requirement, okay, as a nation? What do you
Yeah.
think?
I think both are needed, because one is more like a short-term solution, the other is a little bit medium to long-term. It's not to weigh in one over the other. Definitely, we have to bring, or assets consuming less energy for sure. And then second aspect is, of course, we should look at completely making it green. So at least that's my sort of perspective. Not definitely one over the other. Yeah.
I mean, this was something just came into my mind. Like, we are thinking about creating more energy solution, like how we can think about creating something which can help us to reduce the consumption. So I think,
Absolutely.
it very well. So it has to go both ways. So
Correct.
now coming to the next question, I wanted to just know a little bit about some of the projects that Upaya is taking care or maybe involved in, where you have seen the jobs are being created and how the local communities are becoming a part of it. So if you can just share
Absolutely.
over it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we invested in a company called Resham Sutra, which works in the silk value chain, in parts of Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Orissa. So there is a traditional practice of something called thigh reeling. So women job holders use a tie to sort of reel, to extract the silk from the cocoon. Now, Rasham Shudra saw this big drudgery that women were in, and then came up with innovative set of machine that can replace this practice of tie reeling to avoid drudgery, improve the productivity. Not only that, and made that as clean energy or solar driven. So thereby the productivity also increases because now it is not manual intervention is required, right, at some point of the automation. So now this helped in two ways. One is the drudgery productivity, and apart from that, makes that energy cleaner. So this is one classical example of how a silk value chain, which was completely dependent on other forms of energy, now getting into clean energy, but with a more the machine also eliminates drudgery. They've sold, I think, close to over 6,000 machines in different parts of, like I said, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Orissa, the core silk belts. Um, so that's one example. And the other example is SMB Green, which is based in UP. And they are into e-rickshaws, replacing again the manual, in man-pulled bus, replacing that with electricity driven. Again, the drudgery reduction, and therefore communities have better productivity and better increase in income. And they also sold thousands of it in Uttar Pradesh. I think the third one, we have accelerated a company called Raheja Solar, which has developed a small scale solar dryers. These are typically can be held by farmer groups with cooperative or farm producer company, or farmers themselves can own it. Any perishable product that they produce, they can dry it and then sell the final product. So these are three sort of company in different part of the value chain, but has come up with different kind of sort of innovative sort of assets that can be used by the communities and help creating jobs. Yeah.
Chakram, digging deep into the experience Upaya had with, working with the communities in the clean tech space and how the jobs are being created around it. I wanted to know if you can, point out the top challenges that you have faced in creating the jobs around this space and the opportunities which are still underlying into the clean tech space, which needs to be tapped in. So I just
Yes.
want pinpoint the exact challenges and the opportunities in the sector.
Yeah, I think the challenges, one, like I said, the distributed rural energy assets or, more a novel nascent concept when compared to a rooftop solar or, large scale solar installation, because that concept has been in India for a decade. People understand that well. So naturally, the question comes around financing. Who's going to finance these assets? You walk into a conventional buying a car or a two-wheeler vehicle, there are at least hundreds of financiers who want to immediately looking at your credit facility, wanted to give or finance these assets right away with EMI, right? But if I talk about any distributed energy assets, it could be solar drying, freezing, cooling, or e-rickshaws. There are not a lot of financials because inherently the concept is not understood. The economics are not well understood because these are new age, new innovative products that are coming into the market. So financing is not easy to come by for the end users, though they know that there is a lot of benefit. So purchasing for end customer, especially because of the communities that they are coming, they don't have a lot of credit scoring mechanisms or as we have. So that puts a lot of challenge. Upaya and then a few of our partners understand this well, and that's why we have taken this risk of investing in these enterprises, knowing well that once they pass through this particular phase of next 2 to 3 years, and some of these assets also will become to be recognized as like a rooftop solar asset today. So that's one, I would say, larger challenge that need to be addressed, and it needs more hands and partners to get this through. Yeah. I think opportunity, like I said in the earlier one, I think it is about if India has to get to that 100 from our 175 gigawatt to 450 by 2030. I think the share of the pie of 40% in rural energy as a, distributed asset is going to be very, very critical. And these are vulnerable, communities to climate adaptation. So government is addressing both in a way, not just achieving the the energy objective, but also preventing the community from the climate risk that they are in. So that way opportunity is bigger. Yeah.
you know with a starter's perspective, it is very important, both the things, the challenge and the opportunity, because it is something which has to come along with the other one, otherwise you will not be able
Correct.
to your venture. So I think that's great to hear, the challenges and the opportunities through your experience in this green energy sector. Now I would like to ask you this question. So you have covered a lot of things, like what Upaya is trying to do and how you guys are creating an impact in creating dignified jobs. I want to know if you can present us what is the approach Upaya is doing in creating dignified jobs in a single line. What do you think? What it can be?
No, tough one. So in a single line, but I'll try to sort
Uh,
of answer. I think our approach is
Lines if you want, but I want you to make it very short. That what Upaya is trying to do to create dignified jobs. What is Upaya's approach in it?
yeah. Our approach or pathway is, I think, the fundamental thing that we keep is our sort of mirror, because we learn from the communities what they wanted, right? So that's why we have a dedicated team for impact measurement management, which means that we directly talk to the job holders of the companies that we invested and see, is this job meaningful? What will be meaningful to them? What are the things that we do? And basis what our investment thesis comes from. So it's not the other way around. We are investing and then seeing, okay, what comes out of it. But our approach is little different. If we have to summarize in one line, we learn from the job holders what they need, and then we try and see whether we can provide those innovative product or services that will enhance their life through the enterprise that we are investing. So that's our approach.
And that, I think this is something all the startups coming into the clean tech space had to follow, because when you are doing something in the clean tech space, sustainability space, you have to keep check on the impact measurement, because this is something you wanted to do. And if you have forgotten what you tried to do and how you started, it is not a solution, a sustainable solution. So now I think we are pretty much covered with the session's topic, but I still have some questions. So I'm going to shoot this question on taking a startup's perspective, what they wanted to know more about Upaya Ventures. So so again, now let's jump into the Q&A round, where I'll try to take some of the question which I thought like will be something which startups wanted to ask. Okay.
Sure.
The first question is like, what are the primary clean energy sources that Upaya Venture focuses on, and why are they essential for job creation?
Yeah, I think the clean energy sources is predominantly solar, at least in this context where we are working. But it can be also because the way we look at it is wind cannot be decentralized. It can't be small units. So that's why I'm saying the clean energy sources has to be something very solar dependent. Second, like I said, from food waste, whether if biogas can be produced, that's another form that we look at. It can be either from agriculture waste or household waste that are coming from urban areas, right? So that's second source that we are looking at. So if somebody is looking at either of this, then that will be interesting.
Okay, so very well said. Now coming to the next question. So, what do you think? In which areas of the clean energy industry do you see the most potential? Is there for job growth in the coming years?
Um, I think there are many sectors, but I'll just summarize, maybe two, three broad pointers, again, from earlier discussion that we had. Solar water pumping is one area. If just to meet government objective of 6% of all pumps used in the country to become solar, that itself is 10,000 crore market. If somebody is addressing it, they are working in that spectrum. Similarly, if I look at cold storage as a solution, small scale cold storage as a solution, just to move from the grid dependent cold storages today to completely to a solar energy based asset. Again, not even 6% like solar water pumping. Even if you have to do just 1%, 1% accomplishment on that, that is again another 10,000 to 15,000 crore market in INR. So these are like in itself is a big market if company jumps in and start working out on the solution. Yeah.
Great. So, one last question. So this can be the end of the discussion. So I wanted to understand, what do you think how the industry is behaving around these solutions coming into the clean tech space? It can be climate tech, it can be energy efficiency, energy saving, sustainability. What do you think how the industry is taking it? Do you think they are taking it in a way where they, along with their commercial part, they are also looking it into something where they can play their part as a community, or they are still looking it as a commercial part, like if we want to invest, we will just go through the company, will try to figure out whether this is going to create some value for us in future or not. What do you think? What's your thoughts in this?
Just to clarify, Shubham, you're talking about very investor centric, or this is generally as an industry?
Investor centric. What do you think?
Investor centric.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll try to answer it, but if there are any further follow up, I will clarify and answer a little bit later. But based on my understanding, I think from investment perspective, I think globally as well as in India, the trend that is happening is okay. It's primarily on clean energy. How do you get most of the spaces into that? So naturally, most of the fund that is also flowing is into more centralized system. Decentralized systems are not getting a look in as yet. Still nascent. Now there are a little bit of, I think, in the last 2 years, in many of the international forums, the talks have been that okay, if it is clean energy, just don't focus on the centralized asset, but also let's look at distributed asset, because these has to go into even underdeveloped countries or developing countries. That's when now this is getting focused. Otherwise, most of the capital, I would say 90-95% of the capital is completely focused on central, the solar installation, or the EV charging, and so around that and things like that. Not so much, or like you said, even the third part, which is okay, can we bring down energy consumption in a normal devices that we all use, right? Things like that, but not so much in this parts what we were discussing. That's the industry trend right now. Yeah.
Very true. And, I also believe it has to be a multiplied approach where startups, industry, government, investors, all of us have to play our role, okay, where we can make something which is somewhere still related to our interest, but at the same time creating impact. So this is something
Yeah.
I believe as well. So with this, we are at the end of our discussion and the session. Once again, thank you very much, Chakra, for joining us and letting us host you to the discussion where we discuss a lot about creating a dignified job. And this is the first time I also tried to understand what is the difference between a normal job and a dignified job. But I think this is something we have to think more, because nowadays it is not about just creating employment. We have to think about the quality of it as well. So once again, thank
Right.
you very much, Chakra, for sharing your thoughts. And we are very happy to know about the approaches and the mission that Upaya Social Venture is doing. So once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Shivam. It was a pleasure talking, and thanks for having me here. Yeah.
So
See you.
thank you very much, all the participants, for joining us to the second episode of Cleantech Talks. We are very excited to host such sessions in future as well. So keep watching, and we are going to bring more experts who can talk more about the. So this is it from our end. Thank you very much for joining, and see you soon. Thank you.